Hey everybody, as promised, I said earlier I would come back on. So I'm back on and I wanted to do another quick video before, you know, I shut in for the night. Today, or tonight at least, I want to talk about, are you prepared? Do you have something ready in case things go awry and you have to make a quick move and get out of the situation that you're in? Um, for those of my longtime viewers who may have seen the videos and heard me talk about last year's situation with the civil unrest here in my town, which pretty much the whole nation, the whole world saw it blow up on the news. Um, and it was quite extensive. But when everything happened last year surrounding the person that died and the police and that whole situation, things turned ugly really, really quickly. And when that happened, and I live in the epicenter, right there in the area where it happened. I live it within blocks of where the man died, and I actually had met him like 2 weeks before he had passed. But when people started, they started marching and protesting, and things were building up. Kind of like when you see a storm coming and you see the clouds are changing colors and they're starting to swirl around and they're a little pink and they're a little green, and you know that you need to be ready to get up and get out. So, fortunately, I had a friend that came through for me and um, offered me a place to stay with her outside of the city. Um, but that meant that I needed to be ready to go right then. But because I already prepped, because I've been through various situations before, I was able to grab what I had, and I still had to throw a few more things together, and then I was able to get out the door. So, I wanted to show you today some things that you might find helpful to have prepared um, in a bag in case an STHF situation happens and you have to either leave home or you're trying to get from one location to another to meet up with other people. This is my blue bag. One thing that's going to be really important, and if you end up having to take off in a hurry, you might want to take yourself some kind of a water bottle. If you can fill it up with water before you go and pop it back into the sides of your bag, that's super. Otherwise, at least grab that so you have a receptacle in case you need it for water or having a beverage later. My bracelet. I like the paracord bracelet because I can wear it on my wrist, but since this is, I have more than one, but since this is not something that I wear all the time every day, I like to keep at least one in my bag because in the event of an emergency, you can unravel that paracord and it's strong and durable enough that when used with some other supplies, you can create a tent or do other necessary survival things with it. And you can get these fairly cheap from like Menards, Home Depot, camping places. They're fairly cheap. Having some sort of blade, and this is just, it's actually a box cutter. It's a fancy, a box cutter in a fancy packaging. But, having some sort of blade in case you need it for cutting things or opening things, that's helpful. Miniature package of needle and thread with um, buttons and whatnot. It's always good to have that in case there's a rip or a tear somewhere. This is my camping spoon. Folds up. Very convenient. Put it right in my front pocket on my bag. In the next pocket, toiletries, cleaning supplies. Want to have things like soap, a washcloth, keep a spare toothbrush, toothpaste. Those are important so that you can keep up your hygiene wherever you go. Opening the larger section, I carry a backup asthma inhaler because I do have asthma, and it's important to, if you do end up having to take off in a rush, grab your meds with you if you're on any kind of specific medication that you need to take regularly. Toss them in the bag so that way you have them. But by me having an extra one, I just keep it in there so that way at least I have that for when I'm on the go. And here's another box cutter. It's small, but it was free when I went to a convention, and it has a little key ring on it. And I said, free is good. I can work with that. Always a use for it. And because I have a cat, I need to make sure that I am providing for my cat's needs too. So I carry like extra dishes for my cat, water dish and food dish, and I keep a package of dried cat food. Now this container was actually a gelato container. I ate the gelato, obviously, washed it out real good and dried it, and then filled it with some cat food. And this is enough cat food that will last for several days for my cat. Got to make sure I take care of that. And then I would just toss her in the kennel and carry her with. A change of clothes, including clean socks. That's always important. These are Wisey wipes. These are, they have multiple uses. You can wet it and use it kind of like a wet one to clean your face or clean your body. It looks like it's about the size of a nickel or a Tums or something, antacid tablet. When you wet it, it expands and then you can pick at it and it'll pull up and separate and it'll turn into a large enough thing that can be used as a moist towelette or it can be used as toilet paper. It's what you call camping toilet paper. So it's good to carry with you in case you're worried about whether or not there's any, if you're at a campsite or whatever the situation may be. This is just a good backup to have. You can get these on Amazon. A jar of peanut butter because it's protein, it'll give me energy, and I can take 1 or 2 spoons of that and be able to keep going for a bit if I don't have anything else. Wooden matches. I took one of my old pill bottles and cleaned it out and I put some wooden matches in there. And I do have my starter stuff. Not sure where it is right now, but I do have my starter flint stuff so that I could light the matches if need be. Tylenol just in case I need it, or whatever pain reliever medication. My emergency beacon, flashlight, radio, which also can charge up your cell phone with the hand crank power. So it has no batteries per se in it. It's a hand crank radio. Uh, Walkie-talkies, if you are using them with other people in coordination with other people. Different walkie-talkies work for different lengths, different distances, and depending on if you're in a building or if you're outside somewhere, some of them might work up to 5 miles, 2 miles, 3 miles. So it depends on what the situation is And if you've already given the matching ones to other people, uh, it's a good way to be able to communicate with those other people as long as you make sure you have your batteries in there and that the batteries are working and that everything's fresh. So that way people can save their cell phone battery if, if you're going to be within a close enough proximity to each other. It's just an extra good way to keep in touch with folks. And in regards to the water, if you're getting water out of a creek or whatever, you might want to get some water purification tablets. I got these from the camping section at, I think it was Menards. They have them at Menards and Home Depot. But it's it helps to make icky water become potable water. I mean, if you have a life straw, that's great because life straws will do that. If you have a Berkey water filtration system, that's great. I have what's called the travel Berkey, but it holds a gallon and a half of water, and I use it regularly. So I'm really not going to travel with it because it's like this tall, and I'll talk about that and show that in another video. But I can take the water bottles that I fill up from that and toss them into the bag just so that I have extra water to carry me through. One more thing would be I have a little propane stove that I keep in here. Um, there are propane stoves out there. There are butane stoves out there. You just have to make sure that you actually have the propane to go with it if you're going to be using this to cook with. If you end up being in an outdoor situation, please don't use it indoors. It's not safe because of the carbon monoxide, but it is a good thing to have if you might end up being in an outdoor situation. Now, I know that was a lot that I was showing, but that's just my bag of preps. That way I don't really have to think about it so much. If I want to add something at the last minute and I find that I have time to add something, great. But if things are going down and you got to make a move and get out from where you are, it's good to already have something that's put together because then you can just grab it and go. But along with that backpack, as I said, I would put my cat in the cat carrier and be carrying that. And then I also have this. It may seem silly, but yes, a yoga mat. In case you end up having to sleep outdoors somewhere or lie on the ground, it's good to have that. And it's also good to have like a rain poncho in case you might need it wherever you go. So those are a few things that I find that are really helpful to have in the event of an emergency. I mean, it's not like we should live, waiting for the second, shoe to drop so that we have to run out the door. But it's good to be prepared just in case. You know, Hurricanes happen, floods happen, tornadoes happen, lots of things happen. Civil unrest happens. And sometimes you have to take off really quick. Like I mentioned, that's what I had to do. I had to take off really quick, and I was gone for 3 days. So it wasn't time to stop and think, do I want to wear the black pants with this? Or no, I needed to already have some stuff together. And for me, it was just easy to grab my stuff and be ready to head out the door. But as a little added bonus, I'm going to talk about a book called Backyard Foraging. And I've mentioned it before, but it was like probably a couple of years ago. This is an excellent book that talks about food that you can get right in your yard. And it's full of descriptions, it shows pictures, so you know what you're dealing with, you know how to prepare it, you know how to eat it. You know, Know the difference between what's good for you and what's bad for you. Because when I was growing up, my grandmother used to take stuff out of the yard if I was sick, and she would like boil the oddest concoctions and make a tea and have me drink that tea, and then I was no longer sick. So our medicine is oftentimes right around us. And I'm not saying this is a medical doctor. I'm not trying to give medical advice. I'm just talking about lifestyle stuff and how to be prepared in the event of an emergency and how you can find things that are good for you to eat, healthy and nutritious for you to eat. So I'll talk more about this book along with some other prepper type books and how to deal with situations and how to protect yourself and to be safe when trouble arises. But I just wanted to share that with you, and I hope that you are prepared and you have some stuff put aside. I hope that you have just a little emergency bag. I'm not saying that you have to pack like you're going to visit the Queen of England or whatever. Just have a little stuff put aside so in the event of an emergency, you're ready to go. And then from time to time, you might want to go through and check and make sure that the stuff is still relevant, or if you got something in your bag like peanut butter or granola bars or something, you want to make sure that it hasn't like gone beyond its good use state. So just some things for you to consider. I hope you have a great night, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.